Wes here with Lewis County Scoop. I'm joined with Tammy Porter. We are here for the Johnny Sparks benefit. Saturday, May 2nd, Highland High School, 4 p.m. The doors will open. Meal at 4:30, and we're going to have an auction at 6. Um, Johnny did pass away March 31st of cancer, and I'm going to kind of have Tammy go through the process of how we got here.
So everything first started in Sparky got diagnosed in November of 24. Um, and he was having some issues and he got diagnosed with lung cancer. Went in for the biopsy and everything, started chemo. And then right about Christmas time, he had another biopsy. And then about the first of the year, it came back that it was in his bones. And he had it in multiple bones and everything. Been he was doing chemo for 15 months altogether is how long he was on chemo. His lung cancer, it was different types of cells. So like there was a small cell and a large cell. Um,
It's kind of hard to
and
battle or pick one to battle.
well, that's what, he went through, all his chemo and stuff, and he went through a lot of different biopsies, a lot of different genetic testing and treatments and stuff like that, and because it was so difficult in July, his cancer doctor actually sent him down to St. Louis, kind of for a second opinion because one chemo would treat this type of
Right.
cell and it would go down, but meanwhile, the other type of cell was growing. So it was kind of this constant battle of trying to find the right chemo that treated both. And so it was pretty extensive. He went through a lot of doctor's appointments, a lot of different testing, a lot of every few months he was having biopsies, every few months
Yeah.
he was having, well, every, few weeks he was doing blood work and CTs, MRIs, PET scans, there was a lot of that and, he worked through the whole time.
Yeah.
He worked, through it, which was amazing.
We've heard countless stories of how tough he was with a lot of people didn't know how bad his cancer was,
Mhm.
and because I seen him out every day. I'd see him at McKenzie's or I'd see him at the gas station,
Yeah, you'd never guess that he
and
had both
you didn't
cancer
know.
and
Right.
yeah. Yeah, because he worked actually almost a full year, after being diagnosed with the lung, and then almost because he worked, um, about till kinda last fall, kinda November of '25, he kinda started slowing down and not working quite as much, but it was amazing. I mean, he was still,
Mhm.
active in the community,
Right.
active working, active with the trucks and stuff like that and everything up until about last fall, and then, after the first of the year, he started having a lot more, ER trips, kinda some fluid started building on his heart, so he was having to go to the heart doctor also, and then in February, he went for an appointment and they shipped him to the hospital, and he was admitted there, and they took, quite a bit of fluid off from around his heart, and then, they found out that his lung mass was actually wrapping around his pulmonary artery, so they had transferred him down to St. Louis to the hospital, and they had to pull in a pretty special team of kinda highly trained doctors and stuff like that because the surgery was pretty intense, trying to get the stent into that artery and everything, and then that led to another biopsy, which then they found out that he had liver cancer and that it had metastasized to the liver, so there's a lot of trips even after that, after he got home, there were still trips back down there, and there's a lot of trips to Quincy, there's been a lot of, um
It was a battle after battle.
it was,
Mm. Y
it
you
was.
couldn't concentrate on one thing without another thing popping up.
Yeah, he had a lot of problems with, his electrolytes being imbalanced and stuff like that, so he'd go for a simple checkup, and then he would have to go to the ER basically or, the hospital
Mhm.
and go get fluids or, the one time they were able to do the fluids there at, Quincy Medical Group, but it was just kind of pretty much after the first of the year, it just kinda he started having a lot
Something.
tougher journey and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but it was amazing through it all. Um, when he would go when he had his longer days of chemo and treatment and stuff like that, he actually still witnessed, he would talk to people about the Lord and stuff like that,
Wow,
actually, other chemo patients and cancer patients and stuff like that.
that's
And,
amazing.
you looked at him, you'd see him on the street, and a lot of times he was still smiling.
Yeah,
He kept his faith, the whole family did. And it was pretty amazing, watching them keep their faith and still smile through it, even the tough times, they would still.
that's a role model right there. That's a blessing in disguise. I mean, for a lot of people. I mean, that's pretty cool.
To know the journey they were going through and the tough battles they were facing, and yet they still, kept believing, kept smiling.
Yeah,
They tried to enjoy every day to the fullest, and
yeah.
pretty spectacular.
That kind of explains the Johnny I knew for sure. What are we expecting there? What's the meal?
They're having pulled pork and a no baked beans. The church is doing the meal and drinks and desserts. There's several churches that are pulling together and donating, making, several different, like baked goods, cookies, stuff like that, and
Good
everything.
stuff.
They're going to be doing also a bake sale auction. As long with the auction, they're going to throw in baked goods and stuff like
Okay,
that. And so
cool. What about these T-shirts I'm hearing about?
So there's 2 different designs of T-shirts. There's a design down at Design It in Canton, and then there's a design at H2 Graphics at Edina. And the one at Edina, actually, the kids drew it up in honor of their dad. It's got the lung to honor his lung cancer, and then it's got the ribbon wraps around the cross, and there's a memory verse. And the color is actually there's a lot of people in the community that remember he had the blue semi with the yellow fenders.
Yep.
A lot of people remember that,
Yeah.
and that is actually what they based. So the shirts are blue, about the same color as a semi, and then it's got the design is in yellow,
Cool.
and then the ribbon is in white because that is like white, kind of white pearl clear is the like the lung and the bone cancer. So
A lot of thought into it then.
they definitely processed
Yeah.
and they took some time. And
Yeah.
the shirts, they it means a lot to them, for the kids to be able to be a part of it and design that, and there's a lot of deep meaning behind the shirts
Right. Yeah.
with it and everything.
That's
So,
that's cool to get that out.
yeah, I can't wait to see them. So the design that I've seen, the proof and everything, it's pretty cool. So
Good
I'm
deal.
kind of excited to see it in person.
So the silent auction will start at 6. If anybody still wants to donate, you can up till the time of the benefit. Contact info is Sherry McMillan and Robert Reed Miller, and we will put their contact info in the flyer for this down in the comments. So check that out. Tammy, you got anything else?
They're doing a quilt raffle. They've got several different quilts to choose from. They've got 2 different guns that they're raffling off. They're gonna have guns to auction. There's a lot of different items. There's an African safari trip. There's continuous fence panels. There's a ton of stuff. The
Cool.
community has really pulled together and donated a lot of items and stuff like that. There's women's baskets. There's men's baskets. There's all kinds of things.
And all proceeds are going to help with medical
Yep,
expenses, right?
help with medical expenses because they've, chemo's not cheap, doctors aren't
I know.
cheap, and plus they've had a lot of just, gas, the typical daily bills
Trips.
with all the trips and all the mileage and wear and tear and stuff like that. Um, and then, with him kinda slowing down and not working as much and everything, not having that coming in and stuff, so, yeah, the benefit will be for to help with the medical and help with the expenses that they've accrued and stuff like that, and because it's all taking its toll,
Oh, for sure.
as
Yeah.
expected.
Yeah.
You can't go through that, and
Well, for one thing, we do live in a very good community that
yes.
does like to give back. So,
Yes, and it's been pretty amazing to see everybody, that's helped pulling together and all the
mhm.
local people, that have been a part of it and actually, said, yeah, we're going to get this. Yeah, we're going to do this,
Right.
whether it's just cash check, donations for the benefit,
Yeah.
for the auction and everything. It's pretty amazing
Yeah.
to see the community work together and pull together and everything. It's really
Cool.
wonderful.
All right, guys. So don't forget about the benefit for Johnny Sparks. It's Highland High, 4 p.m. Meals at 4:30. And the auction will start at 6 with our own Remington Yates on the mic and Michael Stauffer. So get a hold of Sherry McMillan or Robert Reed Miller, and we hope to see you guys there. Thanks.